Good afternoon, everyone. This is Darren Podrobsky, Vice President of Marketing for Glowpoint. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar on how video conferencing as a service is making it easier than ever for small and medium businesses to adopt and use video. Here with me today is Rupam Jain, Industry Director for Conferencing and Collaboration with Frost & Sullivan. Rupam has been covering the video conferencing industry for over 12 years, with a particular focus on cloud and managed services for video. She's received wide acclaim for her research through articles and quotes in Businessweek, CIO and CXO Magazine, InfoWorld, IT Week, and the Wall Street Journal. Rupam, it's a real pleasure to have you with us here today. So before we begin, I wanted to remind everyone that this is a live interactive webinar, and you can use the Ask a Question feature in your player to submit a question at any time. We'll address your questions at the end of the presentation and provide time at that point for audio-only participants to ask questions as well. In today's webinar, you'll learn about how video conferencing can make your small and medium business more productive. We'll provide you with a clear understanding of what video conferencing as a service means and how it can eliminate the most common barriers to adopting or using video. We'll show you how to choose the video conferencing as a service offering that will best meet the needs of your business. We'll provide some examples of how other businesses are using it. So before I turn it over to Rupam, let me set the stage by providing a definition of video conferencing as a service. A video conferencing as a service offering is a complete solution for video delivered from a single provider that includes a video endpoint, which could be an app on a mobile device such as an iPad or an iPhone, a software client on a laptop, an executive desktop system, a conference room system, or an immersive three-screen telepresence system. A video dial tone in the cloud should also be included. In other words, the ability to make video calls with your colleagues, customers, and partners, regardless of the type of video endpoint they are using, and without having to invest in local infrastructure. System maintenance and help desk services should also be included. Your users should have help available whenever they need it, including having your video endpoints repaired or replaced as necessary. And finally, a video conferencing as a service offering should be bundled together as one package, ideally as one monthly payment that can be treated as an operational expense. So in the simplest terms, video conferencing as a service means that a business can focus on using video and experience all of the benefits, while someone else makes sure that it is inexpensive to adopt and works every time. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rupam to provide more details.
Thank you, Darren. Thanks, everyone, for joining this webinar. So today we'll discuss how video conferencing as a service breaks down the traditional barriers to video adoption, and particularly how small and mid-sized businesses can benefit from moving to video services. But before we get to the specifics, I would like to spend a few minutes to go over the key drivers that are prompting businesses to look at the next generation video conferencing services. So when we look at the broad communications landscape today, there are huge shifts taking place. There's an influx of new devices, new connectivity modes, and new user interfaces. So what used to be static communication experiences tied into a fixed location just a few years back have been completely replaced today by a very virtual, visual, social, and mobile world today. Also, keeping up with the pace of innovation has become critical for businesses. Technology cycles are becoming shorter, and businesses have to move fast to stay ahead. So what this means is that IT departments and line of business heads must constantly keep their hands on the pulse of what the market needs are and what their employee needs are, so they can address that faster and better than anyone else. And that differentiates successful companies from the rest of the pack. So what do all these changes mean for companies that want to stay ahead of the curve? With the emergence of the global economy and the growing trend that we're seeing for work shifting, where the boundaries between personal and work lives are increasingly disappearing, there is obviously a need for newer and more effective tools that keep us all connected at all times. The voice-only mode of communications that worked just fine until a few years back can now actually be detrimental to any business, and that needs to be complemented with additional real-time rich media tools such as presence, messaging, desktop and mobile video, online meetings, and social media integration. In fact, Frost & Sullivan research has shown that almost 85% of companies today have a remote workforce at some level, with employees working from home offices and the road on a regular basis. And with this emergence of the new world, there's a need to communicate with people dispersed across the globe, and often the teams that come from different work cultures. So it is important that we have these rich media communication tools that provide a better user experience, a better communication experience than simple voice-only calls. Last but not the least, keeping the current economic environment in mind, companies have to be able to do all of this at lower costs. In fact, the new normal is greater productivity with less resources. So there's clearly a big need today to use communication tools that are mapped closely with these changes. So this is where technologies like video conferencing are delivering immense value today. Video conferencing is letting thousands of organizations get the benefits of in-person communications without the travel costs and without the lost time and productivity that is typically associated with in-person meetings. So today you can connect with anyone, anytime in an ad hoc fashion using high-definition, multi-point video, along with rich data sharing and collaboration to get the true productivity and cost benefits. Now, when we look at the broad video communications landscape, there are so many tools and choices available for users, and there is a right solution for each user organization depending on their needs. Video chat tools like Skype, Google Talk are being used increasingly for business use, but there are limitations, both in terms of quality of video as well as security, control, etc. There's also web conferencing, which has seen tremendous growth and adoption in recent years, and a big trend among web conferencing providers has been to add high-quality desktop video. But the key focus of those tools is rich data collaboration, such as slide presentation, desktop sharing and application sharing, along with whiteboarding, annotation, and so on. And it's widely used for one-to-many type of presentations, with video functionality typically available at a limited scale. Full high-definition video is not widely available. Also, in most cases, desktop video used within web conferencing is not interoperable with other standards-based video systems, such as room-based video conferencing and third-party desktop video clients. So if an organization is looking to benefit from true high-definition and full-scale rich video communications, then video solutions are the right fit. They offer the richest user experience as well as security and interoperability with standards-based systems. So video conferencing, as we know, is not a new technology by any means. In fact, it's been around for decades. However, the penetration rate of video conferencing today is estimated to be less than 10%. Now, compare that with other well-entrenched enterprise communication tools like email, and it raises the big question, why has video conferencing not taken off? So the benefits of video conferencing are very clear, but it has been riddled with several challenges related to use and management. Due to the high costs associated with the devices and extensive infrastructure requirements, most of the video conferencing deployments today remain confined to conference rooms. And in several cases, it can only be afforded by large enterprises. Also, it's not been an easy-to-use technology. Businesses today operate in a very fast-paced and complex world, and any communication tool that does not meet the ease-of-use requirement is not going to see widespread adoption regardless of its value or benefits. And that's largely been the case with traditional video conferencing deployments that require heavy IT involvement and support and therefore result in a less attractive ROI and also a longer payback cycle. Lastly, due to the rapid proliferation of newer types of devices and user interfaces that we have seen, along with newer standards and networks, there have been several interoperability challenges. As a result of all this, video conferencing has remained mostly an intra-company tool, and it's used by employees within their organization with broader business-to-business usage, very limited or at a restricted scale. So there is a huge need today among organizations of all sizes to implement video conferencing that's easy to use, simple to manage, and is cost-effective so that it can be extended to a large number of users. In fact, making video conferencing as simple and predictable as a phone call is finally coming true with advancements in video conferencing services. Video conferencing as a service today can either be deployed as a cloud-based solution or managed services. In a cloud-based solution, the application and its management is hosted in the cloud end-to-end by a service provider, and the complexities are truly hidden from the end users. The cloud-based solutions are multi-tenant, and so they spread the costs among several thousands of users, making it scalable and cost-effective. So there is no upfront cost involved for the users, and users can be up and running with no investment at their end, with simply a soft client and a webcam. In other cases where organizations, due to security and control reasons, prefer a dedicated deployment model, service providers also offer comprehensive managed services options, where the servers can either be on the customer premise but managed by the service provider, or they can be at the service provider's data centers with full 24/7 service and support capabilities. In each of these cases, turning on video conferencing as a service is a simple and flexible option, and it offers an attractive alternative to users, particularly small and mid-sized firms that do not have the wherewithal to implement an end-to-end on-premise deployment. Therefore, a large number of businesses today are moving to turnkey video conferencing services that can be implemented with low cost and low risk. Particularly, SMBs are taking advantage of instantly turning on video conferencing for their users without any upfront investment in hardware and software. And the new generation of cloud-based services are also offering the pay-as-you-go model, which is very attractive. It's based on an all-you-can-use model for a single-user license, so SMBs can start small and scale up as the needs grow. Also, the complexities that we typically see in video interoperability today across multiple protocols and networks and new and emerging devices are very well being tackled by cloud-based services, which is allowing them to use video conferencing for true business-to-business or B2B applications, connecting users with their customers, suppliers, and partners. And last but not the least, cloud-based services also offer a faster disaster recovery time, since the video conferencing assets are located in the service provider data center that are physically dispersed and have failover and redundancy that on-premise customer deployments typically cannot implement. So users are increasingly seeing the value of renting video conferencing as a service, and this is very much in line with what we are seeing in the broader communications and collaboration market. In fact, I would like to share a couple of slides on the recent results of our 2012 Frost & Sullivan Unified Communications and Collaboration Survey, which indicates a 42% jump in the number of companies using hosted and managed services. And that's a significant trend, and we expect the move to cloud and hosted-based services to continue growing at a fast pace. And the same survey shows that the biggest drivers for the move to hosted and cloud services are the need among businesses for efficient resource utilization and lower costs. Also, hosted and cloud-based services offer greater flexibility, so businesses can focus on their core competencies, and IT can focus on moving away from an operational role strictly to a more strategic role. So looking at the cost benefits of video conferencing as a service, here we have done a broad comparison of costs when implementing a CPE video conferencing solution versus renting video conferencing as a service. So an end-to-end CPE infrastructure requires investments in video conferencing bridges or MCUs, which provide multi-point capabilities. Also, there is a need for additional video network management and scheduling software, and for investment in firewall traversal and in some cases gateways and so on. On top of that, if we add the IT resource costs, we come up with a significant difference between the two options. We've used the sample estimated cost for cloud-based services here of $399 per month, which result in significant savings to the tune of 57%, which also translates into greater ROI and shorter payback cycles. So there are several factors that users need to consider when choosing a provider for video conferencing services that go beyond simply looking at price and convenience. So just as video conferencing equipment vendors vary quite a bit in their feature and functionalities, so are the service providers that bring different capabilities, and it is critical to carefully evaluate these capabilities so there is a right fit between your organization and what the service providers offer. To begin with, any deployment should pay attention to how the users within your organization will be using video. Who are they communicating with? How employees will collaborate internally, as well as how they are going to be communicating with people outside the company. So the user profile becomes an important factor in selecting the right provider. Also, large enterprises typically require higher-end managed video conferencing services from a provider, and they also need integration with telepresence rooms and existing networks with a lot more hand-holding. So they want to ensure that the service provider offers a comprehensive range of services that meet all their needs. Selecting a provider that has a well-established track record of working with multiple video conferencing devices and networks will ensure that you'll have the expertise available when you need it 24/7. And lastly, it is important to ensure that the service provider that you're selecting has global reach and support. And this is really critical for organizations of all sizes that are increasingly communicating with globally dispersed teams, since the costs can vary dramatically from one provider to another for international charges. For SMBs, there is a growing trend among service providers to offer end-to-end bundles of video conferencing equipment with cloud-based services that include maintenance and comprehensive service and support, along with flexible payment plans. And that offers a very attractive option for SMBs that have obviously some CapEx limitations. So in conclusion, I would like to say that video conferencing is proving to be a game changer in the current business environment, and users are increasingly using video conferencing as a service for enterprise-grade secure video conferencing services in the cloud, with the key benefits of rapid deployment, lower total cost of ownership, outsourcing the complexity, and having a predictable payment model. And all of these are compelling reasons for organizations to consider video conferencing as a service. I will now pass the call back to Darren, who is going to cover use cases.
Thank you, Rupam. Today, many of Glowpoint's customers are using our services to increase productivity and provide a higher level of customer service. One of our customers is a healthcare startup using video as part of the patient care process. And the company is using web-based video conferencing that is supported in the Open Video Cloud, so they don't have to invest in on-premise infrastructure. We also have a large state agency providing child support services, using video conferencing for casework meetings, team meetings, and training between 10 different locations. Now, this customer is using Polycom and legacy Tandberg room systems, and they chose Glowpoint's Open Video Room service because they wanted the capability to hold ad hoc, self-managed meetings with multiple participants. And they chose a plan with a flat monthly fee with unlimited minutes, so they don't have to worry about overage charges. And then finally, one of our customers is a full-service law firm that uses video for partner meetings, policy committee meetings, patent and trademark meetings, and also for training. This firm is using legacy Tandberg and Polycom room systems from over 30 global locations, and their meetings often include multiple participants and partners or content experts from other firms. They subscribe to Glowpoint's managed conferencing services, so all their meetings are easily scheduled online through Glowpoint's CustomPoint portal, and they're fully managed in the Open Video Cloud, including connecting participants on other networks using mobile, desktop, or room systems. They also chose a plan with a flat monthly fee, and so their total costs are predictable, and they don't have to worry about overage charges either.
Okay, thank you very much. This concludes our presentation. We thank you for your time here. We now want to open up the floor for questions. Remember, you just need to use the Ask the Question feature in your player to submit a question. But let's start with the questions that we have received online. So here's a question that came in. The question is, how are companies measuring the ROI of video meetings today, and what are the proof points? So, Rupam, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, sure. Good question, and obviously an important one before any organization starts investing in video conferencing. And there are several ways of looking at ROI. From a pure dollar return perspective, I think customers will continue to evaluate the travel cost and time savings. But in my opinion, that's really an old world view of looking at the value of video conferencing. What we are increasingly seeing is that customers are now putting the value on the user experience itself more than anything else. So as we move to more of desktop video, mobile video, and away from strictly the immersive telepresence type of experiences, it's not so much about saving dollars on travel, which, by the way, will always be there as a least common denominator. But the real value to video communications lies in being able to have that more productive and more compelling interaction with your customers and partners and employees. And that results in things like faster decision-making and shorter time to market and so on. In fact, we have heard several customer stories where the use of video, along with other UC applications, has led to faster product development, shorter sales cycles, greater customer satisfaction, etc. And those, I think, are the real proof points of video. So ultimately, the ROI for video meetings is very much dependent on the quality of the user experience and how good the video and audio experiences during the meetings, and whether or not there are any interruptions, dropped participants, and if the meeting could be launched on time, and those kind of issues. In fact, if it takes the users 10 minutes to set up and launch a video call, or spend excessive time before the call on downloads or resolving dialing and network type of issues, then the ROI drops right there and then. And that's what we covered during the webinar, right? The benefits of video as a service is that ultimately that burden is on the service provider, who is responsible for all of those metrics and will ensure that the users have that seamless experience, and will also provide all the reporting capabilities so that customers can measure the performance of the video conferencing application.
Great. Thank you, Rupam. Another question just came in. What, according to you, will be the real impact of mobility and use of tablets on the use of video conferencing among businesses?
Well, mobility is huge, and we all know that. In fact, I think it's going to become an even more critical element of all our communication experiences, video included. Mobile video solutions today are very nascent. FaceTime type of user experiences aside, which I think has limitations for business use, mobile video is still developing, and it will continue to improve both in terms of quality and also in terms of the cost of the infrastructure that will support those large-scale mobile video deployments that we will see eventually. And we are already seeing a lot of progress. For example, more and more service providers are now offering browser-based clients that take away the complexities that are associated with using and supporting different types of video applications and video clients. But really, outside of the value of mobile video to the end users themselves, I think the biggest issues really lie in how IT is going to resolve the challenges associated with BYOD and what it means from a security and control point of view, and also assessing and preparing for the networks that will be required as users use more and more of mobile video. So the bottom line is that there will be a growing population of business users that will bring the device of their choice to the workplace, and it is time for IT to start planning and investing in supporting that growing base of applications, including video conferencing over those mobile devices.
Great, thank you. Let's see, another question that we just got. What driving forces will make video a routinely used tool for communication over voice calls? So, Rupam, I'll ask you to address that one.
Well, we covered a lot of that in the webinar. I mean, there are several aspects, several drivers that will continue to push the use of video. I think a key one is the availability of video everywhere within widely used instant messaging clients, chat clients. Also, as we already talked about the impact of mobility, the availability of video or video-enabled smartphones and tablets that have the real estate. Also, the availability of advanced networks, mobile networks included, 4G, LTE. All of those factors are really going to make video more ubiquitous. But, apart from all of that, in my mind, I think the ease of use and ease of management, as we covered in this webinar, are really key to making video as easy as voice today. And the cloud-based service providers, I think, will continue to improve their offerings. And small and mid-sized businesses already have a lot of options today to evaluate, and they'll continue to see, I think, more robust video conferencing services at even lower price points going forward.
Super. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn it over to anyone that may have questions out there on the phone. Go ahead, operator.
Thank you. If you'd like to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in question queue. You may press *2 if you'd like to remove your question from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset. Once again, that's *1 to be placed in the question queue. Please hold while we poll for questions. Once again, that's *1 to be placed in the question queue. If there are no verbal questions at this time, I'll turn the floor back over to you for any further comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. This concludes our webinar. If you would like copies of the slides, please feel free to follow up with me. You see my email address. It's stevepodrofsky@glowpoint.com. I'd like to thank Rupan again for her time and would wish everyone a pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much.